Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Let's imagine this. Imagine floating above the earth for nearly 3 days, seeing a total of 6 sunrises and sunsets going up and down, seeing the moons and stars and being able to almost to touch them, doing all this for like 68 hours, floating with very little sleep and no bathroom. Can you imagine that? Well, my guests today don't imagine it, they live it. They've been living it for over 22 years. When we come back, we're going to discuss the world of gas balloon races and championships. And my guests, you'll know them by name, if not by face, because they are household names here in New Mexico. We'll be back with this exciting program. Hold on to your chairs. Right after this, we'll be back. Stay with us. Gas balloon racing and championships. 22 Coupe Aeronautique Gordon Bennett's, 4 World Gas Championships, the founder of the American Challenge, and also the winner. You find the race and then you win it. That and so much more. They're household names because of all these successes they've had, mostly great recognition in New Mexico, and again, across the world, across the globe. Mark Sullivan is my guest today, and Cheri White. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. We've heard about you for years because you keep winning everything. You keep flying and winning. And of course, here, the hub of the Albuquerque International Balloon Fiesta, hot air balloon, capital of the world is right here. You both fly hot air balloons, but you have your claim to fame in gas racing as well. Cheri, take it away. You just don't imagine it, you live it.
We do, and we've been doing it a long time. And in fact, we just landed in a hot air balloon today, flying from the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta, but we're fresh off our flight in Europe, which we took off September 14th in Munster, Germany, and flew for 3 days, 3 nights, and landed south of Madrid in Camarasa, Spain, and here we are.
You have flown around the world, not in a plane, but in a hot air balloon. I mean, you've seen a different perspective than we all have. How did you get into this gas balloon racing and flying?
Back in 1985, I actually got into it when actually a hot air pilot, pretty famous one, had all the special shapes in town, Chicky Boom, Uncle Sam, Jock Soka. And he had just bought a Rosier gas balloon. And these are the balloons that flew around the world eventually. And we were doing the early test flights for him. And we were at the New Mexico State Championships, and Sid was talking to him, and Jock was looking for a pilot. And Sid told him, well, Mark will fly with you. We go do. So that's how I got involved. And he said, well, you want to go fly this experimental balloon? And I said, yeah, sure, why not?
I think your mother or other friends could tell you many reasons why not fly in an experimental balloon.
Yeah, well, it was quite the flight, because the first flight we took off in Moriarty, and we flew overnight, and we thought we had a leak. And these balloons have burners to heat the helium. We were flying helium, and so we decided to land, and it was supposed to be calm in Amarillo, which it's never calm in Amarillo. So we landed about 40 miles an hour and went through a couple barbed wire fences.
Now, guys, this is not in a car. You're not driving 40 miles per hour in a vehicle. You're in a gondola in a basket.
Yeah, we're in a wicker basket.
Not only a basket, but a wicker basket.
Yeah, the first fence we exploded.
Something that we usually serve fruit on, a basket, right? It's flowers and fruit, but you're flying, going 40 miles per hour.
Yeah, when you hit a barbed wire fence at 40 miles an hour, it just exploded. Just went right through it. And then we drove for, I think, about 1.5 miles, and we finally ended up against another barbed wire fence and shredded the balloon, destroyed it, first flight. Gone. So that's the first flight of the Rosiers that eventually flew around the world. Yeah, but it was a great flight.
We're going to talk about all your experiences and what you've seen and done, but tell us briefly, Cheri, please, the difference between a hot air balloon and a gas air balloon.
Well, hot air balloons are what you're going to see normally here in Albuquerque. They have propane on board burners, and they put the fuel into the envelope, and they fly usually about an hour early morning or late in the evening. And then the difference between hot air and gas is that gas is either helium or hydrogen filled. There's no burner on board. You have sandbags that are strapped around the side of your basket. If you want to go up, you let a little sand out. If you want to come down, you valve gas off. And you can fly for distance in gas balloons, whereas hot air, you'll run out of fuel. So
that's the
that's
difference.
the main
and
difference.
They're the big, usually the really white, tall balloons that we've seen.
They're a different shape, and the gas balloons are more round, and then whereas the hot airs.
Cheri White, how did you get into gas balloon racing and championships and flying?
Well, in the 70s, my dad was a hot air pilot, and so we were his crew. And then when I was 16, I soloed and bought my first hot air balloon at 19. And then in 2002, just random out of the blue, Mark calls me up and says, hey, my co-pilot, Sid Cutter, is not going to fly gas anymore. Would you like to be my co-pilot? And so I thought about it and said, well, I'm kind of afraid of heights, but let me, I don't know if I can stay in a basket that long, but he said, well, come do a test flight, and if you like it, you can fly the America's Challenge with me that year. So I drove to Albuquerque. We did an easy flight over the mountain, landed in a big ranch, and I thought, oh, this is easy. So my next flight, we took off at the America's Challenge, and we flew all the way to Georgia. And we landed in a swamp.
From Albuquerque.
From Albuquerque.
In a basket. We're talking basket, folks. In a basket, not a plane.
Open air basket with one bench seat that you take turns sleeping on. The other pilot sits on the ice chest. You have a little porta potty and all your instruments.
How glamorous.
And you just go. And we landed, we flew right outside of Atlanta airspace, and then we got caught with some clouds, and the balloon came down in a swamp. And there was water and alligators and everything else. The 911, the people came, and the firemen kind of helped us get out of the swamp. But that was my introduction to gas ballooning.
Barbed wire fence or a swamp with alligators, your choice. What do you choose? Oh my gosh. What did the emergency people, they probably didn't, they thought you were UFO, I imagine.
They didn't know. A lady had seen us. We were flying a big yellow balloon, and she was on her lawnmower, and she saw us coming out of the sky rapidly, and so she'd called 911. And as we're descending, I hear the sirens, and I said, Mark, I think that they're coming for us. And sure enough, a few minutes later, they were coming through the swamp, and we had to cut down some trees to get the balloon out, and it was a big ordeal. But
so you decided to continue flying.
I did. For 2 more years, I flew the America's Challenge, and then the 3rd year, we were over Texas, and there was a big storm. We'd been watching this little white fluffy cloud all day, and it kept getting bigger and bigger. And
as it does in Texas.
As
everything
it does
gets
in
bigger
Texas,
and bigger in Texas.
and bigger. And we called command center, and we hire a meteorologist. We have sat phones. We have all kinds of safety precautions on board. And they said, no, we don't see anything. It's clear air. And we get over to Amarillo, and it turns into what, level 4 thunderstorm. And the command center's calling us on the sat phone saying, you can't outrun it. You got to get down now. And so Mark's like, sorry, Cheri, we got to land. And right then this big kaboom, and you can see the churning and the thunderstorm. And I'm up there going, please, please, I'll never fly again. Just get me on the ground. And we landed in a cornfield, and we got out. And then I stopped flying. That was for my, I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. But then he called and said, do you want to come fly in the Gordon Bennett in Europe? And the word was Europe and Belgium. I'm like, okay, I'm in. So here we are.
And you had a hard time getting him to the TV studio to do this show, and look at all he got you to do.
I know.
Come on, Mark Sullivan. Look at all that.
So it's been adventuresome. Yeah, we've
wow.
We've flown in Europe almost every year now in the Gordon Bennett. We've flown America's Challenge here in Albuquerque, and we both continue to fly hot air, and we're both competitors in hot air, so we compete in hot air and gas.
You were a women's challenge. You are currently, I think, the women's.
I've been the
champion.
Women's champion
In the hot air
in the
balloon.
hot air ballooning twice. And
What does it take to be a women's champion in the hot air balloons?
you just you have to be able to read winds. You have to know when in your aircraft and the winds, and when you're up in the air, you're flying to targets, and so you're trying to go different levels to catch different winds, and it's more on accuracy and flying in. And you'll see here at Fiesta Field tomorrow we have the key grab, and that's similar to what we do in competitions where you're flying to a target.
And where did you win the women's championship?
I actually went here in Albuquerque, New Mexico in, I think it was 2016, and then prior to that in 1999 in Rantoul, Illinois.
And you're from Texas.
I'm from Texas.
You're from Texas. And Mark Sullivan, you're from?
I'm a native.
You're a native, Albuquerquean. Okay, you've gotten this woman to a lot of sticky places there, but seems like she likes it. Tell me a little bit about the Coupe Aeronautique Gordon Bennett, how that compares to the America's Challenge, which you organized and founded.
The Coupe Aeronautique Gordon Bennett's the same exact rules. Everybody takes off at the same spot in the same size balloon with 2 pilots, and the rules are simple. Who fly the furthest win. That's it. Fly the furthest, you win the race. So the rules are simple.
But we've had the Gordon Bennett for...
5 times.
You've won it. You've won it. No, you've flown it.
I finished second in the Gordon Bennett's my best finish. I've won together with Cheri, we've won the America's Challenge twice.
Twice.
Right.
The Gordon Bennett, where do they fly the Gordon Bennett?
The tradition is the country who wins it has to host the next one. And it could be 2 years down the line, but if you win it, you get to host it. So like the Austrians won it this year with their landing in Portugal, so in 2026, they're going to host it in Austria.
How many years? Every 2 years?
Every
we
2
have the
years
Gordon?
they host now.
And it's Coupe Aeronautique Gordon Bennett.
Right. It's the oldest aviation race in the world. They've been doing this before they ever had planes. They started in 1906 out of Paris. So.
I was just going to say Gordon Bennett is every year. So it's where it changes where it is hosted, which city, but they have the Gordon Bennett every single year. And America's Challenge is every year, except for this year, which they had to cancel because the Gordon Bennett was too close in time, and there wasn't enough time to get the European gas balloons shipped over to the United States. So
Why was there a timing conflict like that? They could have adjusted the timing.
Full moon. The Gordon
Okay. Okay, didn't know that. Okay, tell me.
The Gordon Bennett traditionally flies into a full moon, and this is safety because you're going to be up there 3 or 4 days, and so if you have to land, even though we carry night vision, it's really nice to have a full moon to light everything up. So in Albuquerque, we don't have that option. In Albuquerque, we fly on the first Saturday in October, period. Moon or no moon. So it's a little different a race in that respect.
And how did you founded the America's Challenge?
Right. Well, I like to fly distance racing, and I'd been in a few Gordon Bennetts, and I was responsible for getting the Gordon Bennett here in 1993.
Because the winner was from the United States?
In 1992, David Levin and Jim Herschen won the race in 92. So I wrote a proposal up to the Balloon Federation of America and our National Aero Club, and I said, let Albuquerque host it. Well, they accepted the bid, and that's how it got started. So after that, it goes away, and so I proposed to the board, hey, this is the place you can fly distance, not Europe. We can fly much further here. And so everybody did this, and most of the distance races, the long distance races, are out of Albuquerque. We fly much further here. So the Gordon Bennett this year, the winner flew 2,000 kilometers. We do that all the time. I mean,
Drop of the hat, 3,000.
I mean, we can fly. We've flown 35 out of here. We've flown all the way to Maine a few times. So.
I mean, you went to Atlanta, Georgia, though, right?
That
I mean,
year
that's
we
East
did.
Coast, so
that was East
Right.
Coast.
that's. I mean,
Yeah.
you're hitting the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean. You have to stop then.
Yeah, I think we were only third that year. The year we won it, we flew to North Carolina to Cherry Point, where the tip comes out. So
You could have gone further.
No, we're about out of ballast. We're trying to stop.
Yeah, your ballast becomes gold when you're flying. That little sand, you know, that you're carrying, it's like gold because when you're out of ballast, you have to land. And if you're out of ballast, like my first America's Challenge, we're throwing the batteries out, our ice chest out, our trail rope out, trying to break the fall to stop the descent as we're coming down. So your ballast is very important.
This sounds so lovely, Cheri White. Not the alligators and barbed wire. Now you're tossing everything out of the basket.
Yeah, which one's next?
I hope
You or
the
me?
clothes, you don't have to throw
No.
the clothes out or anything.
Well, you did throw a survival suit out one time, so yeah.
Well, does that mean you need to
It's-
bring more ballast next time, more things to throw out?
You can't.
The balloons lift 2,800 pounds at sea level. So the most you can lift with 1,000 cubic foot balloon of hydrogen is 2,800 pounds at sea level. So if you got 2 pilots in a balloon system, well, you only have about 1,000 pounds left of sand to 1,200. So that's it. That's all you can take. You can't take extra.
I was
because you
thinking
wanna
No,
take
you can't take
Won't
extra.
fly.
So you'll see gas pilots. Actually, everyone starts their Gordon Bennett diet. You know, 6 months before, trying to slim down and
So they can take
so
more
they
ballast.
can be
that's
more
right.
balanced
Oh, how
because ballast
funny.
is more
You can
important.
take one extra bag maybe if you both lose
Lose a
weight.
couple
Lose a few
pounds.
pounds.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah.
So you won it, and you went all the way to Maine, flying
No, our winning, we went to North Carolina.
North Carolina. Okay.
And then I think Iowa was the
And
second,
the second
win.
one, we landed in Iowa.
Yeah.
Now that's a big difference between Iowa and North Carolina. I mean, the Iowa's closer than North Carolina.
Well, some years you have good winds that take you further. Some years the winning pilots only went to Oklahoma. If you're sitting in a big high pressure system, you can't go as far.
It
So
all
you got to
depends on
have
weather.
the upper level winds to get you distance.
Cheri, how high do you go compared to a hot air balloon? We see them flying, but
Yeah, in the daytime, because you have thermal activity, we're usually up around 11, 12,000 feet. Whereas at night, we'll be flying a little bit lower, maybe 5,000, 6,000 feet.
you're 11,000, and a plane is around, what, 25?
We're not allowed to go up into Class A airspace, which starts at 18,000 feet.
In the U.S.
In the U.S.,
Okay, well,
19,000 in Europe. So we're always under 18,000, and we have oxygen when we get up really high. But I'd say most of the time we're around 10 to 11, 12 in the daytime, and then in the evening as the gas cools and the balloon kind of sinks, we'll fly lower in the evenings and do a little bit maneuvering. And we're working with the meteorologists in a command center, and they're looking at the models of the wind, and they're doing trajectories to see which altitude has the best trajectory. So they're actually kind of flying the balloon from their computers, and we're executing it for them, and giving them the information that we're seeing, what the skies look like, the weather, how much ballast we have left, and then it's a whole team effort. And then we have a team that's chasing us on the ground. And we usually have 2 people, and they're doing the same thing in the chase crew that we're doing in the balloon. They're switching off drivers, one's sleeping, they're grabbing meals when they can, and they try to be there when we land.
Sleeping is what, 2 hours, 1 hour?
We try 3-hour shifts.
Okay, you try 3
We try 3. This year in Europe, we were pretty lucky. I fly at night a lot. Mark is the better executor for landings, and so I'll fly in the evenings. And this year, he actually got 2 nights of 5 hours sleep. So
Mark Sullivan, Europe. So you'll fly in Europe when the Gordon Bennett is won by a European pilot. So it's not always in Europe, sometimes the United States. Is it in South America?
No.
there are no South American gas pilots yet. Yeah, there's not.
How many pilots tend to take off in a race, in the Gordon Bennett or in the America's Challenge?
The most ever that's been out of a race, we actually had the record for that too at like 30 something. We didn't get them all up, but we had a lot of them here. The most in the Gordon Bennett that I can remember is 25, I think.
That's quite a
Yeah,
few.
you're only allowed 3 per country. It's restricted that each country can only send 3 teams. That's it.
So the United States only has 3 teams.
That's it.
And you
So-
tend to be one of them.
Right. The U.S. picks their 3 best teams and they send it to the Gordon Bennett, like every country does.
In Germany and France and Switzerland, Poland sends teams, Lithuania sent a team, Australia sent a team this year, and what are the other countries?
Oh, Japan, France,
Japan,
Spain.
France, Spain.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah.
We only, believe it or not, a few minutes left. So, Mark, Sullivan, what would you like to share about the experience that people don't, you know, we on Earth, we Earthlings, don't know about you up in the air? The
Well, I think
sensation.
the both of us, what's the best is flying over Europe and looking at the countryside. And once you see the countryside and how gorgeous it is and you land, well, then you spend the same amount of time driving back. And you get to go to all the villages and have lunch or something. And it's no better way to see Europe, really. We've flown across Europe several times, all the way across, and then you drive back. So it's, I mean, that's the experience. That's why we do it.
Sunrises.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Sunrises, sunsets, falling stars at night. When you're up there, the stars are just magnificent because there's no city lights, and so it's
So
just
floating
really.
over a country is a different way to see it than me taking a train across the country. Yes?
Absolutely.
Why? What do you see up there?
Well, we can send you some pictures, but like in what we noticed in France, France is the best area in the world to fly because it's all green, rolling hills and just wonderful terrain. Spain is crop fields everywhere as far as you can see. It's just crazy. So it just depends on where you're flying.
And Cheri, the United States, what do you see flying over the United States?
McDonald's. No, I'm kidding. You see a lot of different terrain in the United States. You see there's a big difference between Albuquerque and the Midwest, and then on the Northeast, a lot of, we've crossed mountain ranges, and we've crossed the Continental Divide. We've been over crossing the, what are the Blue Hill Mountains. Blue Ridge
Mountains?
Yeah, the Blue Ridge Mountains. So you see lakes, and you see just all kinds of beautiful things from up above. It's just, we both love nature, and then we both love people. So it's the perfect sport for us.
You've been awarded, Mark, the Montgolfier Award for your contribution to gas ballooning, I believe twice.
One's for contribution, one's for best flight. So there's a couple of Montgolfiers, and you get it for best flight in gas balloons. And Cheri has one too, by the way.
Yours is for what, Cheri?
Best flight as well.
What was
Best
the best? What was the best flight, Cheri?
I think
White?
that was that the one?
Yours were 2 podium finishes in the America's Challenge, a win, and a 3rd in the Gordon Bennett.
The same year.
Same year. Has to be the same year.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And yours were for?
2nd in the World Championship in a World Gas Balloon Championship, and 2nd in the Gordon Bennett, same year.
And Montgolfier brothers were flying in France, I think, what,
1783.
1783.
They invented the first flight.
The first flight with the rooster, pig?
I think it was a duck and a sheep. But
Rooster, duck, and a sheep.
I
They
never
flew.
get it right either.
They flew.
Yeah, if you're in Louisiana, you say alligators.
That's what the award is from the first flight
Right.
in Europe, the gas. Fantastic. The sensation up there, how does it feel? I mean, there's no wind in your face because you are traveling with the wind.
It's absolutely dead still. You don't even know what direction you're going. It's at night, you can get over areas that are pitch black, and the stars are different. It's different. They're just really, really bright. So it's
It can be very cold at night. I wear 3 pair of long johns, ski pants, jackets, hats, hand warmers, feet warmers, and then in the day, you're taking it all off because you're with the sun, and you're putting on your white shirt, and we have sunshades that we hang up to keep the sun off us. So
But how interesting, because there's no wind in your, usually here in
wind.
New Mexico, it could be 22 degrees and you're outside with no wind. It's delightful with the sun, but of course, at night, there's no sun, but no wind, but still very cold
very
in the
cold in the upper layers.
atmospheres.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Depending
that.
on the weather system, but
Okay, let's talk some more about exciting landings or exciting adventures. I like the barbed wire, I like the alligators and the swamp. What other, where else did you land?
I have a good one. We flew over the Mediterranean one time, and we landed on the island of Sardinia, and that was really exciting. We had the island pinpointed from top to bottom because we didn't want to fly on to Italy. And we thought, we'll land on Sardinia, and we landed in this field. It was a hard, rocky kind of landing, but it was just covered with sheep. These sheep all came up to us, and we couldn't find a person. Finally, we found a person, but they didn't speak English. All they spoke was Italian, so we had to use our sat phone to call our command center's mother, who spoke Italian, to kind of explain why this balloon was in their field.
With the sheep.
And then our command center called a hotel and said, "Can you go pick these 2 people up there in a field?" And they're like, "In a field?" And they said, "Yeah, they flew in a balloon," and they didn't believe him.
They didn't know
And
it.
he gave them the website, and then it all
Well, the
worked
sheep,
out.
they all wanted to
So
ride. They just like they said, we know.
They know.
In 1782, our fellow sheep was riding. Mark, what was your big adventure?
Oh gosh, I've had so many. I think the worst one was the Belarus incident when they shot down one of our teams. And they locked me and David Levin up in Belarus. That was kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Little nerve. Hey, that put the barbed wire to shame.
Yeah. We've had some crazy flights.
If we want to find out more, because we've only had this half-hour, where can we find out more about you too? And again, your household names here: Mark Sullivan, Cheri White in New Mexico. But where else can we find out about you?
We have a Facebook, and we have a website, flygas.net. But if you just look at Flygas on Facebook, you'll find us, or on Instagram. And we have our bios and everything.
Bios and beautiful photos and everything. And I know you work with a cooperative. Maybe another time we'll come back and talk about your
rural electric cooperatives. That's wonderful.
And why is that so important?
This is our 25th year, and I go around the country for the farmers and the little villages, and we do annual meetings, put the balloon up. A lot of people have never touched or felt a balloon, and we do tethers, and we take people up, 20 feet, 30 feet in the air, and bring them down.
And bring them down. That's important.
We bring a lot of joy to people around the United States.
Yes, you do. Cheri White, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mark Sullivan, thank you for being here and for all you do for the state of New Mexico as well. Thanks for watching. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great, safe week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater, is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.